Welcome to your storytelling. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to subscribe. It started like any other evening. My wife, Emily, had texted me that she'd be working late again. It wasn't unusual. Her job at the marketing firm often required late hours. I trusted her. I had no reason not to. But that night, something felt off. I couldn't explain it, just a nagging feeling in my gut. She hadn't kissed me goodbye like she usually did. And when she left, she seemed distracted. I brushed it off, thinking I was being paranoid. But I had no idea that my entire world was about to shatter. Emily's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. She had forgotten it at home, a rare occurrence. I reached for it instinctively, ready to bring it to her office. But then, the screen lit up with a message from a number I didn't recognize. "Miss you already, babe. Can't wait to see you again." My heart stopped. My fingers trembled as I unlocked her phone. She never hid her password from me. What I saw next sent a chill down my spine. There they were, dozens of messages between Emily and some guy named Ryan. Flirty texts, inside jokes, heart emojis. And then, the worst of all, last night was amazing. You always leave me wanting more. I nearly dropped the phone. My wife, my Emily, had been with another man while telling me she was working late. My vision blurred with tears, rage, heartbreak. I scrolled further. How long had this been going on? And why hadn't I seen the signs? Every fiber of my being wanted to call her, to scream, to demand an explanation. But I stopped myself. If she could lie to me so easily, what else was she hiding? I needed to be smart. I needed proof. I took screenshots of everything, my hands shaking as I sent them to my own phone. Then I placed hers back where she had left it, acting as if nothing had happened. But inside, my entire world was collapsing. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, my back to her, pretending to be asleep when she finally came home. She kissed my cheek like nothing was wrong. "Long day," she whispered. I wanted to laugh at the absurdity of it. How could she lie so easily? The next morning, I watched her closely, every smile, every text, every move. And then I made a decision. If she was playing a game, I would play too. But I would make sure I won. For the next few days, I pretended nothing was wrong. Emily continued to leave for work at her usual hours, still texting Ryan every night. But now, each message felt like a stab to my heart. "I miss you. Can't wait for the weekend." Her phone had become my obsession. I couldn't stop myself from checking it whenever she wasn't around. Each message was like a piece of evidence I could never unsee. The love she claimed to have for me had been nothing but a lie. It was a Saturday afternoon when Emily stepped out for her usual errands. I didn't follow her, but this time, I couldn't resist looking at her phone again. My heart pounded as I read another message from Ryan. This one was different. I told her I love her. "But it's you I want." I froze, every muscle in my body tense. Did she tell Ryan she loved him? Was she planning to leave me? The questions were endless, and the pain was unbearable. I needed answers. That night, I waited for Emily to get home. She was late, and I felt my anxiety rising. She walked through the door, all smiles. "Hey, babe," she said, leaning in for a kiss. I didn't kiss her back. Instead, I asked the question that had been eating at me. "Are you cheating on me, Emily?" Her face drained of color. She didn't even try to deny it. She just stared at me, silent. And that silence spoke volumes. I couldn't take it anymore. "Who is he?" I demanded. "Ryan? The guy you've been texting?" Emily sat down, her eyes filled with guilt. She confessed it all. "It's been going on for months," she admitted, her voice breaking. "I didn't mean for it to happen, but I couldn't stop myself. He makes me feel alive in ways you don't anymore." My world crumbled as the words hit me like a ton of bricks. My wife, my love, had been seeing another man. And it was my fault. We didn't speak for hours after that. I just sat there, staring at her, trying to process everything she had said. I kept thinking back to all the times she had lied to me, all the excuses she had made for being busy. How could I have been so blind? How could I have let her pull me into this illusion of happiness when all along, she was somewhere else, with someone else? My heart broke for the life I thought we had built. The next morning, Emily tried to apologize, tried to explain. But the words felt hollow. "I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you," she said, her voice trembling. I could barely look at her. "How could you?" was all I could manage to say. She asked me to forgive her, begged me to give her a second chance. But how could I? The trust we once had was gone, shattered beyond repair. I wanted to believe her, to somehow fix this, but the damage felt irreparable. I spent the next few days in turmoil, torn between what my heart wanted and what my mind knew was the right thing to do. Emily kept promising me that Ryan meant nothing, that it was just a mistake. But every time she spoke, I saw the lies. The love she once claimed to have for me had been replaced by something else. The love I had for her was still there, but it felt like a distant memory, clouded by betrayal. I couldn't decide if I should stay and try to rebuild, or leave and start over. I finally decided I couldn't live like this anymore. I needed closure, needed to know if there was even a chance for us to repair what had been broken. I told Emily I wanted to meet Ryan. If you love him, if he means so much to you, then I need to see it for myself. Emily was hesitant but agreed. That day, we went to the restaurant where Ryan had been waiting. When I saw him, I realized just how different he was from me. Tall, charming, everything I wasn't. Emily's eyes lit up when she saw him. That was the moment I knew. Ryan was everything I wasn't. Confident, smooth-talking, charming. It hurt to watch. Emily introduced us, but it felt like I was standing in the shadow of a man who had everything I couldn't give her. Ryan looked at me, not with guilt, but with arrogance. He didn't even try to hide his smirk. Emily stood beside him, and for the first time, I saw her as someone else's. I had never felt more invisible. The way she looked at him, the way she smiled, it was like I didn't exist. And in that moment, I realized I never had. I left the restaurant that day feeling hollow, defeated. Emily tried to reach out, but I didn't answer. When I got home, I packed my things. She came in, asking me where I was going. You made your choice, Emily, I said, my voice shaking with hurt. I'm not going to be a second choice to you. I deserve better. She cried, begged me to stay, but I couldn't. The woman I loved was gone, replaced by someone who no longer cared. I walked out, leaving the life I had once known behind me. Living in the apartment alone was suffocating. The silence echoed, and everywhere I looked, I saw memories of a life I no longer recognized. The bed was empty, the kitchen cold. I missed Emily's presence, but at the same time, I couldn't shake the feeling that she had never truly been mine. I spent the first few days drowning in loneliness and confusion, wondering how I could have been so blind. I had trusted her with everything, only to discover she had been giving her heart to someone else. I had to learn to live without her, but it felt like my world was falling apart. After the first few painful days, something inside me began to change. I wasn't going to let Emily's betrayal define me. I started going to therapy, something I had never considered before. I needed to unpack the emotional wreckage she had left behind. With every session, I began to realize how much I had lost myself in the relationship. I had sacrificed my own happiness for someone who didn't appreciate it. Slowly, I started to rebuild. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I had to try. One evening, I went out with a friend to clear my head. While sitting at the bar, someone caught my eye. It was a woman, kind, beautiful, and genuinely interested in my life. Her name was Sarah, and for the first time in weeks, I found myself laughing. We talked about everything, from trivial matters to deeper subjects. It felt good to feel seen again. Sarah reminded me of the person I used to be, someone capable of joy. As I walked home that night, I realized that life could go on without Emily, that there was still hope for me to heal. A few days later, Emily showed up at my door. Her eyes were red, her face etched with regret. I've made a huge mistake, she said, her voice shaky. I can't stop thinking about you. Please, give me another chance. I stood there, frozen, unsure of what to say. Part of me wanted to take her back, to believe in her promises of change. But I knew better now. I had already given her everything, and she had thrown it away. I wasn't sure if I could ever trust her again. I told her I needed time to think, and she left, but I knew deep down that our story had come to an end. Time passed, and I started to embrace the idea of moving on. It wasn't easy, but I began to see that I was stronger than I had realized. I began reconnecting with friends I had neglected while I was with Emily. I went on small trips, rediscovered old hobbies, and slowly began to feel like myself again. It wasn't about revenge or anger. It was about reclaiming my life and learning to trust myself again. Emily's betrayal was painful, but it no longer defined me. I was moving forward. One evening, Sarah texted me to see how I was doing. We had kept in touch since our first meeting, but I hadn't seen her in person since. She suggested we meet up again, this time for dinner. I agreed, not expecting much more than a nice conversation. But when I saw her, I felt a spark, something I hadn't felt in a long time. The way she looked at me, the way she made me laugh, reminded me that there was still goodness in the world. That night, we talked for hours, and I realized that maybe, just maybe, I could open myself up to someone new. As my friendship with Sarah deepened, I started to feel a connection that went beyond just comfort. One night, as we were sitting together at a cafe, she asked me a question that caught me off guard. "Have you forgiven her?" I looked at her, unsure of how to answer. Forgiveness seemed like such a far-off concept. How could I forgive someone who had shattered my heart? But as I thought about it, I realized that forgiveness wasn't for Emily, it was for me. I needed to let go of the anger and the hurt that had consumed me for so long. Emily called me a few weeks later, asking if we could meet. I agreed, though my heart wasn't sure what to expect. When we sat down, she apologized again. This time, her apology felt different, more sincere. "I don't expect you to forgive me," she said quietly, "but I need you to know that I am truly sorry. I was lost, and I made horrible choices." I listened, but part of me remained distant. I wasn't angry anymore, but I wasn't the same person who had trusted her before. I had changed, and that was a good thing. As my relationship with Sarah grew, I found myself opening up in ways I hadn't thought possible. I shared the pain of my past, the betrayal I had suffered, and she listened without judgment. She was kind, patient, and understanding. With her, I started to believe in the possibility of love again. She didn't replace Emily, but she helped me realize that love didn't have to be perfect. It could be real, raw, and healing. Trusting again was hard, but Sarah made me feel safe enough to take that leap. One afternoon, Emily reached out again. She wanted to meet, but this time, she had a different request. "I want to know if we can at least be friends," she said. The old me would have agreed, would have tried to fix things out of a sense of obligation. But not anymore. I had grown. "I don't think we can be friends, Emily," I replied softly. "Maybe one day, but not now. I need to live for myself, not for what we used to be." She accepted it, and for the first time, I felt a sense of closure. I was free. After my conversation with Emily, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The air around me seemed lighter, as if a chapter one had been stuck and had finally come to an end. Sarah and I grew closer, and while it was still early in our relationship, I couldn't deny how much I valued her presence in my life. She didn't rush me, didn't pressure me, and for the first time in a long while, I felt truly seen. Maybe love wasn't about the perfect moments, but the connection we build in the imperfect ones. And I was finally ready to embrace that. As time passed, I began reflecting on my journey. The betrayal, the pain, the heartbreak, all of it had shaped who I was becoming. But it no longer defined me. I realized that Emily's actions didn't diminish my worth. If anything, they gave me a deeper understanding of what I deserved: honesty, respect, and love. I had learned that life doesn't always go as planned, but we have the power to heal and rebuild. And now, with Sarah by my side, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't thought possible. One night, as Sarah and I sat under the stars, she asked me something that took me by surprise. "Do you think we have a future together?" Her question was simple, but it struck a chord deep inside me. I thought back to everything I'd been through: the lies, the heartbreak, the pain. And yet, sitting beside her, I felt hope. "I do," I said, smiling at her. "I'm ready for a future, and I think we can build one together." It felt right. Sarah and I weren't perfect, but we were real, and that was enough. I realized that, in order to move forward, I had to let go of the past completely. Emily's betrayal had been a painful chapter, but it was over. I couldn't hold on to the anger anymore, nor could I let it control my future. I took a deep breath and forgave her, not for her sake, but for mine. I needed to make peace with the past, so it didn't steal my present or future. The process wasn't easy, but I knew it was necessary. I was no longer the person who had been hurt. I was someone stronger, someone who had found their voice. As the months went by, my life continued to improve. Sarah and I grew even closer, supporting each other through the ups and downs. I looked back on everything I had been through: the pain, the betrayal, the tears, and realized how much I had learned. I was no longer defined by my past, but by the person I was becoming. Emily's betrayal was no longer a scar. It was just part of my story. And now, I was writing a new chapter, one filled with hope, love, and the promise of a brighter future. Thank you for listening to my story until now. If you like the video, please support it by subscribing and liking.